Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive in the left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. Nova.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. But God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode 822 of the podcast. We are going to talk Yankees again. And I hate the fact that every time I have to bring up the Yankees now, it's with a deep sigh. But this is where we are. Expectations have shifted to a degree. I still think this team should remain competitive. I don't think they have an excuse. There's not an out now with the Cole news. And we recently spoke about how it's going to be important for Max Fried to step up this year. We have spoken a lot in this offseason about some key players. Go check out recent podcasts where we have discussed key players, and you can also check out, we've been writing a lot on our website, so go check out the blog, BD4blog.com. A lot of good stuff in there recently. But, yeah, this is where we are. There are 13 There are 13 days remaining until the Yankees open up against Milwaukee. And it seems like they're going to have a lineup that is now relied on to do a little bit more than initially expected. Again, as far as the lineup goes, I cannot say the Yankees are blameless in terms of the Yankee brass. You guys, they knew about the Stanton injury since October. They knew the elbows were a thing, and just using common sense, he's a year older. He's a guy who's consistently having injury history. How did you not compensate for something like that? You didn't have to go out and get another DH, but you could have went out and how about get a third baseman? Or how about just get a bat anywhere? There were so many different players that they could have signed. Kyle Tucker was one I go back to for in terms of trading for somebody. Anthony Santander, Christian Walker, I was high on him. Alex Bregman, but you let him go to Boston. We can go on. And even if you don't want them to spend money for whatever reason, there were cheaper options they could have went down. They could have went down the Jorge Polanco route. Ha-Seong Kim. Well, you don't want to pay the $29 million to him. How about Yoan Moncada? How down low do you want to go? There were options. And the incredible part is that, you got Steinbrenner and Cashman consistently bringing up how high this payroll is. Well, your payroll's this high and you still don't have a third baseman. That's kind of bad. How have you spent all of this money and you still, you have an empty spot at third base? Now, I'm not sure that it's been officially confirmed that it's going to be Cabrera, but it seems like Oswaldo Cabrera will be manning third base for the most part, and maybe there's some type of platoon between him and Peraza. Point being, That's not a serious option. If you're telling me Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza, I thought I mixed their names. I always do that. I always call them Oswald Cabrera. If you're telling me Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswaldo Peraza, or see, if you're telling me Cabrera and Peraza are platooning for third base this year, that's not serious. Cabrera is a platoon player. He's a nice, fine platoon player. He can't hit consistently enough from the right side to be an everyday guy. And yeah, you could platoon, but Peraza has not shown anything yet. And he's on his final legs. He's got no more options left. So, like, they're playing with fire here. The Yankees are heading into a regular season where they not only desperately need another bat, they desperately need another right-handed bat, because they struggled so much against left-handed pitching last year. Now you're losing Stanton, who was a lefty masher, and you look at your 1-9, and it's Judge, Volpe, Goldschmidt. Those are your only three right-handed bats. Even your bench, Grisham, Dom Smith, lefties. So the lineup is a big question mark to me. You're going to need guys to step up. I have less concerns about the veterans, to be honest, than I do the young players. I think somebody like Paul Goldschmidt will be fine. I don't think he's going to be great. I don't think he's going to be horrible. I think Goldschmidt, coming off a good second half last year, he had an 800 OPS or over 800 OPS against left-handed pitching last year. He's somebody who can still hit the ball hard. He's somebody who can still go the other way. That's going to translate to good things in Yankee Stadium. I think the overall numbers for Goldschmidt this year, something similar to last year, hopefully a little bit better. In fact, I want to pull up our projections here. This is from BD4blog.com. We had a projections article, and Paul Goldschmidt here I have on the screen. I have him doing similar things, slightly better to last season. I've got him hitting 242 this year with a 736 OPS. That's an OPS that's 20 points higher. 25 home runs, 66 RBIs. So I think he should settle in, if not amazing, as just decent. Right? A decent contributor this year. I have no issues with Goldschmidt, the contract itself. I think he'll provide good value. And defensively, I think he's trying to pull up the, here we go. Here it is. There's Paul Goldschmidt. So I think he'll fit. Same with Cody Bellinger. I think Bellinger is more of an interesting case, given that, let me find him here. Given that he is, year to year, his career has always been a bit up and down. You don't know what he's going to give you. I think the approach that he took when he was with the Cubs was more because of where he was. Like, he was at Wrigley Field, where the wind blows in. It's a pitcher's ballpark. My hope is that he's coming into Yankee Stadium and he wants to tap back into that power, and he starts swinging the bat harder again. And he starts focusing more on that power approach that makes him so dynamic as a left-handed bat. So I think overall, Bellinger, and obviously a lot of this depends on where he hits. Is he going to provide some protection? Is Judge going to protect him? Will he hit behind or above him? We'll find that out. But I think Bellinger will be fine. I think Goldschmidt will be fine. Again, where I really worry is going to the rookies of the team. It's players like Anthony Volpe. It's players like Jason Dominguez. In Volpe's case, We have spoken about this before. I think it's going to be very crucial for the Yankees to get him right. And when I mean get him right, you want this kid to pull the ball in the air more. That's got to be what the focus is. He's never going to be a home run hitter. Okay, given his build, he's never going to be somebody who hits the ball super hard. Let's say he gives you on average 15 homers, give or take, right? But last year's slap hitting approach, where he completely shifted away from what he was trying to do as a rookie, did not work. And I would even say it was worse than his rookie year. He had no power, and he was still not getting on base, which was the idea when he adjusted that. So I think he needs to go back to driving the baseball more with more purpose, more intent behind the ball. Pull those inside fastballs, take advantage of those hangers, use that expansive left field in Yankee Stadium. You have to use that to your advantage. We always talk about the short porch with lefties. When you're a right-handed bat with speed, you need to be focused on pulling the ball in left field. Turn your speed into extra base hits. And Anthony Volpe is a guy who can turn a single into a double into a triple. He's got to focus on pulling the ball in the air a lot more than he did last year. If he does that, and he's driving the ball with more intent, and he's more selective on his off-speed pitches, he'll be a solid bat. And when you combine that, he's got a solid bat with a great glove, that's a huge win for a shortstop. So that's where I'm looking as far as Volpe goes. He needs to have a breakout year. And then you're looking at someone like Dominguez. This kid has been talked about for years now. He's been in their system for 7+ years. It's time. The time's finally come where he deserves to get this opportunity, and it seems like he's going to get it. Cashman had an odd quote the other day, but I think he's going to get the left field job. Got to see production. He doesn't have to break out and be, Juan Soto light right away. But I think the idea at the end of the day with someone like Dominguez is to give you offensive production. Is for him to come in here and display that power that everybody's been raving about, right? That switch hitting ability. And he's got the tools. He's an athletic kid. He can run. I think the defensive stuff will play itself out. He's a young kid. You got to give him a chance. I would prefer the Yankees keep him in center field, but it seems like they're trying to do what they always do with everybody and play him out of position. Feel like center field will be easier. You have two guys surrounding you to cover the gaps. But that's what they're opting to do. So those are kind of the key guys. Austin Wells, I don't usually like to put a ton of pressure on catchers, especially younger ones. But I think Austin Wells will fit here. I liked what I saw from him as a catcher last year. The defensive stuff was a lot better than I thought. Funny story. So this was like at the beginning of last year. I guess I had a podcast and we were talking about Wells and how the big question mark about him is, it was known that his defense wasn't great in the minor leagues. And the Yankees recently, a couple days ago, put out a promo, like a hype video, I guess, about Austin Wells. And they clipped that part of my podcast. They clipped the audio and they put it within like the first 30 seconds of the video. So, no, but his defense has been better than I thought. He's been leading off a lot in these spring training games. I like it. I've grown to really accept that role. I think it's important that the Yankees adopt and become more modern as the rest of the league is doing. And when you have somebody like an Aaron Judge batting second, I think Austin Wells makes even more sense batting first. Why would you want to waste speed, this traditional contact hitter up top, if Aaron Judge is going to be batting second anyway? The Yankees don't steal with whoever's on first base when Judge is at the plate. They don't. So I would prefer somebody like Austin Wells, who's not only got the power to lead off a game, but he's got the on-base skills. This is a kid who can draw a lot of walks. He's got a good eye. He's very selective. He knows how to take a pitch. That's a good idea to me. The only concerns with putting in Austin Wells at leadoff would be the workload, right? And we saw towards the end of last year, Austin Wells wore down a little bit. He was not the same September, October. You're at leadoff, you're going to be getting a lot of at-bats. You're a catcher. You're going to be doing a lot on the other end. It is a lot to ask. I like the idea initially, and maybe they go with a platoon, but we'll see. I think Austin Wells, Dominguez, Volpe, Bellinger, Goldschmidt, those are guys who are going to play key roles and make up their entire season. If you don't get production from especially your young players, I don't think the Yankees have a damn shot to do any kind of damage this season. So it's going to come down to it's going to be Dominguez and Volpe for me, because those are two guys who were supposed to be legitimate. The Yankees refused to make any kind of signings, refused to make any kind of deals involving these two, because they sold us that these two guys were going to hit in the term of being booms and hit in the terms of being productive with the bat. They need to be productive with the bat. They need to pan out. That's the bottom line here. So we'll talk a little bit more when we return from break. Stay with us. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. All right, welcome back to the show. Episode 822 of the podcast as the Yankees gear up for opening day in less than 2 weeks. So we talked about the lineup and how you're going to need some big contributions from your younger players. The rotation now becomes very, very interesting. They're relying on Max Fried. They're relying on Carlos Rodon. You know, I don't see the Yankees going after anybody like Sandy Alcantara or Dylan Cease. You know, it's first of all, it's way too early to make trades. With the wild card format being what it is, you know that owners are always going to wait until the very last minute. So I just don't see them giving up the prospect capital for an Alcantara anyway. Cease being the fact that he expires in November, also don't see that happening, unfortunately. Do they go out and sign someone like Kyle Gibson before opening day? They could. Kyle Gibson is not a great starting pitcher by any means, but is he better than Marcus Stroman? Yeah. And the one really positive thing about Kyle Gibson is that this is a pitcher who can eat innings. He's going to be able to take a workload. He does it better than anybody else in the league. This guy is, you look at his track record, he is consistently eating 150 innings or more every single year. So if they go out and get someone like him and they don't have to rely on Marcus Stroman and his, stuff that can't even fool a Javi Baez at this point, I think that's a better alternative. And I think, Max Fried, we talked about Max Fried in a recent episode. We talked about him in one of our recent blogs. Max Fried, I think, I'm not like replacing Cole. Like, it's a good thing they have Fried, because Fried is an ace. He's got the pedigree. Talking about a guy who's gotten Cy Young votes before. He's a multiple-time All-Star, World Series champion, lowest ERA in the major leagues since 2020. He's played in Atlanta, so that's a big fan base over there. I think he can handle New York. We've talked about him before, and on how plenty of times on the show how I'm in love with his pitch style. He relies on a deep pitch mix. He's not like he's somebody who just relies on one or two pitches like most starters. He's got a ton of pitches he can go to, generate soft contact, ground balls. I think he'll be a good pitcher here. Righty killer. He's good, especially with the improved infield defense. We've also discussed how Will Warren, I keep wanting to say Adam Warren, Will Warren is going to play a big role, I think. Last year it was Heel who stepped up for Garrett Cole. Not saying Will Warren's going to be what Luis Heel was, but he's I think their best right-handed prospect in the system. He's a guy I like. I like this stuff. He's got a deep pitch mix, 4-seam, 2-seam change, sweeper. All those pitches have good break, good spin. It's the command and the sequencing for him that's going to be key, right? He's got a good combination with that 2-seam and sweeper to get righties out, and you can also use those pitches to set up the high 4-seam. And he's revamped his changeup, and he's added in a curveball back into his arsenal from high school. So I think those two pitches will be key in terms of getting lefties out. And Blake is also a really good pitching coach who can develop changeups with the Yankees' arms. He's done that in the past. So those are two guys who I think will play a key role. We'll see with guys like Rodon. I think Rodon is. I think Rodon is who he is at this point. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to be key, but let's find our projections for him here. Yeah, I got Rodon doing similar things to last year. I got 15-10, 3.81 ERA, 172 and 2/3 innings, 190 strikeouts, 121 whip. So that's what I've got for him. Similar, right? And now he's going to be stepping back into that number 2 role, unfortunately. But his ability to eat innings and make every turn through the rotation and rack up strikeouts, that's important. He was a big reason the Yankees got to where they were last year. So I think Rodon could play a key role, but again, I don't expect him to ever become that ace. So I think guys like Fried and Warren and Schmidt will be very important. And then you get to the bullpen. That's, if you want to talk about this Yankees team having a big strength, and I actually think it's kind of become overlooked at this point because the bullpen is arguably the most important part of your team in this era. The Yankees probably have a top 3 bullpen in baseball. And there's a case to be made that if they're healthy, which, they can be number 1. So I think the one thing the Yankees did an excellent job of addressing, and the one thing that hasn't taken any major hits yet, has been the bullpen. The fact that they let Clay Holmes walk, that alone was huge. But then they bring in someone like Devin Williams to replace him, and he's got that nasty airbender pitch that I call a screwball. That's huge. This is a guy with an established resume. He's consistently posting 1.0 ERAs. He's in his role. You got Luke Weaver, who's going back to his role in that 7th, 8th inning. He's a guy with a nasty changeup. He can play the fastball up to 98. I would like to see him mix in that cutter more, because I know last postseason he kind of went away from it and he got bit a little bit as a pitch that goes in a different direction, right? So I think Luke Weaver and Devin Williams is going to make for a very formidable back end of the bullpen. This is a bullpen with a ton of swing and miss stuff up and down. It's got a lot of depth. They brought back Loaizaga. They brought back Tim Hill. They brought in a second lefty in Tyler Matzek. If he gets healthy, he's done some good things before. Cousins, if he's right. Hamilton, if he's right. Again, there's a lot of ifs, but I'm never really concerned with the Yankee bullpen. I think Matt Blake usually does a good job getting the best out of guys. I think the only two questions I have, other than health, do they have enough lefties in there? And is there enough velocity? I think that's the one thing I'm really focused on. If you want velocity anywhere, it's definitely in the bullpen. And they've got Luke Weaver, who can touch 97, 98. They've got Ian Hamilton, who can throw 98, 99. Same with Loizaga. But those two guys, first of all, are never healthy. So, I don't know. Do they have enough triple digits, 98 to 100 guys? We'll see. I think that's very important to have guys who can blow you away with a fastball, as we've seen with the Dodgers and throughout the playoffs. But the bullpen, I think, will carry this team. They're going to be relied on a lot, and it's going to be taxing now with Cole out and Heel out. So that's the only thing. You worry about the health. But, yeah, I think that's where we are right now, man. I don't know if I have anything else to add. At the end of the day, this is a team that is all about October. So with guys like... I don't know what the Stanton thing doesn't seem optimistic. It seems like there's a very good chance he could be done for at least the rest of the season. And honestly, at this point, his body is just... But like with guys like Luis Heel, they need to prioritize October, right? So I think with Luis, they need to be really careful. You don't want any setbacks because it took Clark Schmidt, 4 months, 3 months, whatever it was, to come back from his injury, which was very similar. A guy like Luis Heel who throws 98, you've got to be very careful with. Because this is an issue that's not going to go away. When he comes back, even if he's healthy the rest of the way, just like with Garrett, we're going to be thinking about, I hope he's healthy long term. So in the macro, what's really the difference between a Luis Heel returning in August as opposed to a Luis Heel returning in July? If it's going to delay his return a month and you're taking it extra slow with him, fine. You need him for the division race down the stretch of September, and obviously you need him for October ball. So that's what they need to be prioritizing with Heel, and I expect them to. I still wish they traded him for Kyle Tucker when they have the chance, but that's a combo for another day. So that's where we are. This Yankees team has a lot of flaws. At the same time, they've got a lot of upside, right? It's very... There's a wide gap between how successful they can be and the opposite of that. And yes, the American League is not super strong. I do think it got a little bit better in the American League East, and that's where the Yankees play. You look at somebody like Toronto. They're always interesting, especially this year with Vladimir. With that whole Vlad situation, and I think a couple of other guys are expiring, but they usually eventually taper off, and I'm never usually too scared of them. Same with Tampa. I think if they're healthy in their rotation and in their bullpen, they're a good team, but I'm not really terrified of them. They will be pitching at George Steinbrenner Field. The ball is going to be flying in the Florida sun. It's different than playing in a dome. And Baltimore, I think they lost a lot with Burns and Santander. They're usually a first-round exit. I don't remember the last time this team won a playoff game. I don't know. Baltimore's, I guess they're young and competitive. You can't ever count them out. I am most concerned about Boston. I think the Yankees being so lax the last couple of months in the offseason and watching Boston do what they did, it's something to keep an eye on. Alex Bregman fits perfectly at Fenway Park. The type of hitter he is, he's going to abuse that wall, rack up a lot of doubles in that little Tinker Toy Stadium. I'm more looking at the Garrett Crochet signing as the big one. I think this guy's really talented. It hasn't consistently translated yet, and he's got to stay healthy, which has been an issue for him. But if he is, he's an ace. I see him as an ace. Garrett Crochet, I would watch out for him. And they've got some young talent. You know, they have a good farm. They've got good young players that are on their roster already. It's you know, it's something to look out for, and just be wary of the Boston Red Sox. The Devers situation is hilarious. I'm not going to lie. He's not swinging a bat because he's being a little baby. Although I do think that's something that will play itself out and they'll be fine. But yeah, Crochet can lead that rotation. The rest of the rotation is a bit mediocre, but I do think they'll get better there. So I think Boston's the team to watch. If you're the Yankees, you know, I think, you know, unless the Yankees grow a set of balls and make a drastic move, or if they get big time performances from multiple guys or both, then they're going to have a struggle winning the division. I've had a couple of days to sit on everything that's happened inside the Yankees, and I'm still proceeding with caution. I think the division winner is going to be more of a coin flip than anything else. So I guess you could say, you know, if you asked me a couple of days ago, I'd probably say, oh, the Yankees have no shot. I still think they have a shot, but I don't think they're favorites anymore. I think it's really like 50-50 between them, Boston, and maybe even Baltimore. So who knows? Baseball is an odd sport. A lot of things happen. It's a long year, long season, so many different moves, so many different scenarios, injuries, all that stuff always plays out. But I think that's all we got. So I appreciate you all tuning in. And with that said, we're going to wrap this one up right here. That's all we have. Yankees opening day coming up. 13 days until they open up. At home, I'm pretty sure it's a home opener against the Brewers. As a matter of fact, I have to go find myself some tickets for that game. Let me, I have to be there. And I don't know if this is true. I guess it is. I don't know. I did not see this anywhere, but my buddy told me the other day, Marcus Stroman is lined up to start opening day. I'll see you guys later. I hope that's not true. Thank you for tuning in. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.